Chapter 3. The Magical Mind. This chapter is all about the human mind and its use in magic. The subject of the mind is a very complex one, for, indeed, the mind is a very complex instrument on which we play the melody of life. However, looking at this in simple terms, there are two main areas of mental activity that are of interest to magical practitioners. These are the conscious and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is immediately obvious as it deals with the five senses of sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Using these stimuli, the consciousness rationalizes and establishes so-called facts. These facts are then passed on to the subconscious mind, which in turn acts on the information. Remember the picture. The conscious mind establishes facts. The subconscious mind acts on this information and gets things done. Before moving on to the unlimited power of the subconscious mind, we ought to spend some time looking at what are called facts. Since your birth, much of what you know has been given to you by someone else. Your parents, your teachers, society, television, and so on. You have been given facts, and your subconscious mind has been acting on these facts ever since. From now on, you must question these facts to see if they are indeed true, or more important, if they are true for you. As I have already mentioned, it is quite widely known that your character is molded in the first year or two of your life. From then on, you are set in your ways. Do you remember the idea I gave you in Chapter 1 of how traditional lines of thinking are set up quite often incorrectly? Apply this to yourself. You were brought up by parents who had specific views, and you were educated by a system that was too big to resist. So you just accepted these ideas as a necessary part of growing up, whether you like them or not. Religious viewpoints were forced into your mind, often by people who never even thought about the implications. Religious ideals still in this day and age control everyday life. You do not think so? Take a deeper look at society. You will see it follows the traditional line of acceptance. Even if you are not a Christian, as I am not, you still have to conform to Christian ideas and dogma. There are now millions of laws that prop up the original 10 Commandments. There are still many things that you cannot do on a Sunday, and if you go into a court, you're expected to swear on the Christian Bible, and so on. There is not only religious interference in the way our forebears thought, there are many misconceptions as well. Not long ago, it was emphatically stated that humans would never fly. Luckily, Orville and Wilbur Wright did not take much notice of this. Neither did Neil Armstrong, who walked on the moon. Scientists also categorically stated that if humans traveled at speeds in excess of 60 miles per hour, their lungs would collapse. You probably find this amusing now, but these individuals were experts at the time. They taught people. They were leading lights. That was some time ago. Now we know better. Or do we? Has anything really changed? No, it has not. Our culture is influenced by the facts of the day, facts which appear to be right, facts that are often passed on by others without question. For instance, today's scientific facts change with amazing rapidity. Each time they are expounded as facts, then later on they are dismissed as irrelevant in the light of new facts. After all this time, you would think that we were getting nearer to the truth, but we are not. Today's wonder drugs cause tomorrow's side effects. The facts of life are often wrong due to acceptance and lack of original thinking. These facts are now part of our lives, and they are quite often being made to work by the power of our subconscious thought. Little wonder that most people are unhappy, unfulfilled, seriously ill, or desperate for happiness. People live in an unruly, confusing society that has no direction. The Christians are right. There is a hell. But it is right here on earth, created by the human mind in the light of ignorance. We have got ourselves into an awful mess and then blame everything else, including God, for our troubles. In truth, our troubles are of our own making, because we accept and believe the apparent facts. Think about it. Do you see how everything in life is explained quite clearly? The power of the mind is unlimited. The mind takes in impressions and then acts on these to produce physical facts. To believe the impressions you receive, to believe the facts, gives power to the subconscious mind, which then actuates and produces the facts as a physical result. There is no known fact that cannot be transcended. All that stands in the way is belief in that fact. If you change your beliefs, you can alter the facts. It's that simple. It is a fact that if you stick a skewer through your neck, you will feel intense pain. You will bleed and may even die. Yet with my own eyes, I have seen this done. No blood, no pain, and when the skewer was removed, no scar. How was this accomplished? Was it a trick or sleight of hand? Perhaps a cleverly designed skewer? No, it was all real. The same man invited someone to break up a glass bottle with a hammer. The pieces were placed in his mouth, and they were chewed and swallowed with no ill effects. A famous stage hypnotist put himself into a trance and hanged himself in front of an audience. After some time, he was cut down and remained unharmed. I'm not a great lover of stage hypnotists, but I have to admit that ordinary people can be made to see, hear, and feel things that are contrary to the way things are. The facts for these people have been changed. The list of impossible events is never ending and cannot be explained by rational thinking. There are public demonstrations of firewalking in which people walk barefooted over red-hot coal and emerge unscathed, without so much as a blister. The facts have been defied. How? By using the incredible power of the subconscious mind. Most of these phenomena are induced through hypnosis, but before you rush out and buy a book on the subject, let us look at some other aspects of mind control. It is generally accepted that the way to get things done is by gritting your teeth and exerting willpower. Nothing could be further from the truth. Trying to achieve results in this way is almost certain to produce strain. There has to be something better, and there is. In today's athletics, it is now quite normal practice for athletes to spend some time prior to the race psyching themselves up, to use modern terminology. In other words, to convince themselves that they can win. Notice that this is done quietly, usually in solitude and peace. Peace and power. Quiet thought, more energy. It is calmness that produces champions. Thought, then action. Ideas are put into the mind, and the mind comes up with the energy. Of course, physical training is necessary to accomplish these feats. But can anyone explain how a perfectly normal woman picked up a 2-ton car to free her son trapped underneath? On instinct, she called on pure power. If she had thought about this, the facts would have gotten in the way. She used non-thinking. She used the power of belief. Athletes use selective thinking. They reject facts and self-limiting ideas and choose constructive ideas, which they then accept or believe. The way to the subconscious power is by selective thinking, choosing the ideas you want and rejecting the so-called facts. Sometimes this is a slow and deliberate process. Other times it is spontaneous. In each case, in each instance, the facts and the normal reasoning facilities are bypassed in order to achieve extraordinary results. Hypnosis is one method you can use. The subject is placed in a trance-like state in which the conscious mind is quietened. Suggestions are made directly to the subconscious mind, and these are then made to work quite easily and naturally. To study magic, there is no need to adopt hypnotic techniques, unless you feel that you wish to explore the subject in its own right. It is very interesting, but I mention hypnosis only to show the way in which the mind can produce surprising results that defy facts. Notice the technique that is used. Relax, quiet the conscious mind, then alter the thinking to get the required results. Peace and power working together to get results. So often you hear this in life, yet so few see its important message. Yoga encourages peace in body and mind as a way to enlightenment. The same idea is seen in Buddhism or in trance states. Granted, little seems to be achieved by these ideas, other than a tranquil nature. Peace, poverty, and hardship have been grouped together because of lack of understanding. In order to still the mind, we have to apply self-discipline. We have to exercise control. Sometimes, this is done to excess for the wrong reasons. Then the teaching is passed on for others to believe without question. When Gautama founded enlightenment, he found his own personal source of power in his own way. This does not mean that his path was completely valid for others who followed. If one man chooses to throw away the trappings of princes to seek peace in nature, so be it. Controlling the conscious mind sometimes involves doing without, as I have already explained. This helps us to get a better perspective on things. Poverty, starvation, and subservience to the gods are, however, inexcusable. Life is for living to the full. You may well have to deny yourself, but do this in order to gain, not because it is in the rule book. In order to gain control of subconscious power, there are certain rules to follow. The conscious mind needs to be stilled. You do not have to enter into a trance state, nor do you need hypnosis, or the more recent discovery of alpha waves. All you have to do is let go and relax. The way to power is through peace and tranquility. In order to relax the mind, you do not exert pressure or willpower. You relax. The process starts with the body. When this is still, the mind is then relaxed. Have you ever tried to relax your mind? Try to do this now. Stop reading and think of nothing, or have no thoughts whatsoever for about half a minute. Most of you will have found this difficult, if not impossible. Some will have managed a few seconds, and then a thought would appear out of nowhere, or a picture would appear in the mind. Do not worry, this is quite normal. You will, however, need to take control and develop certain areas of your mind. You will be taught how later on in this book. Our inability to simply relax our minds produces two interesting ideas. Number one, we are thinking all the time and we have little control over this. Number two, what is it that is thinking and what is it that observes our thoughts? That is the real you. Try this again. Become calm and relaxed as best you can. Then, when a thought enters your mind, observe it. You have been observing your own thoughts. If you can do this, you can also control those thoughts. You can be selective. You can accept or reject. It is quite easy as long as you keep calm and relaxed. This is not just an interesting exercise. It does have its uses, as you will see. Now try something else. Again, I want you to stop reading, but this time I want you to use the faculty of touch. Become calm and then gently run your fingertips over any convenient object. Do not think, just feel the sensations. Experience them. If you did this correctly, you would be feeling, gathering information being passed on to your mind so that it can be evaluated and assessed. You are observing through the sensation of touch. Let us continue. This time find an object that has a definite color. Look at the color, do not strain, just relax and look at the color calmly with interest. Now what does the color bring to mind? Try to feel the color and get involved with it. The color is certain to spark off some reaction. Maybe a word came into your mind, maybe a picture came to mind. No matter. The color itself caused a reaction and made you aware of something other than the object, something other than the obvious fact. So far we have linked thinking with two senses, touch and sight. Let us now extend this. Again, stay quiet, calm, and breathe slowly through your nostrils. Try to smell the air and see what kind of impressions you get. After a while, try to taste something imaginary in your mouth or in the air itself. Smell and taste are linked together. Have you noticed how taste disappears when you have a cold? Your nose is blocked, so you cannot detect scent, and consequently, you have trouble tasting. Finally, I want you to stay calm and listen. Stop reading and listen to the sounds around you. Pick out the sounds one by one and identify them. Allow pictures of the cause of the sound to arise in your mind. If you are lucky, you will live where there is little noise. Many people are addicted to noise. They fear silence. Fear of peace is a lack of self-confidence. Try this again later on and try to hear the silence behind the other sounds. There really is nothing to fear in pure silence. Its effects can only be beneficial. What have we accomplished by all this? We have controlled and directed our thoughts. We have observed them. We have used the five senses in a particular way, and the result has been to make us aware of things other than the obvious. In a co-magical ritual, the mind is calmed and led away from everyday life. It is held in focus along a specific path by using the senses. To do this, you introduce color, scent, music, and so on. All these stimuli are introduced to help with focusing, so it is really important that you use the right colors in order to get the right associations and correct responses from your subconscious mind. That all-important tool, the imagination, is also brought into play, as it is this that gives us direct access to subconscious levels. This idea will be further developed a little later on and extended into magical practice. There is a tremendous difference between 1. Entering a temple, lighting a few candles, burning off the odd bit of incense, and sounding off a few words of power, and 2. Entering the same temple with the right attitude of mind and using one's calmness and imagination to achieve an end result. So often would-be Magickians completely miss the point of how simple magic really is. They enter the temple with the wrong state of mind, usually fearful or overconfident. They prostrate themselves before the supposed mighty power of the gods, mumble someone else's words of power, and, in awed reverence, await judgment to be passed on them. Little wonder that the results are less than expected. By setting up fear patterns, by presuming and believing that you are lower than you really are, by inviting poverty and so on, sooner or later you are bound to get what you believe to be true. As you think, so you are. You become exactly what you believe yourself to be. No more, no less. This works for everyone, no matter who they are. Always remember this. You are as you think you are, and until you change your thinking, you stay as you are. Thought is just like a magnet. When a person's thought is established and accepted by the subconscious mind, results are inevitable. This works both ways, good and bad, usually the latter. We all have problems, but before you blame someone else on your circumstances, remember that most of these events have turned up because of your own inner thinking. If you think negatively, you invariably get negative results. But even then you can gain. Life always tries to point out where the problem really is, especially if you give it a chance. You can always learn from the problems in your life, and as a result of these, you can gain valuable experience. When you're born into this world, you enter a world full of problems. You unwittingly learn how to think negatively and add to the existing chaos. As a student of this book, you have already decided that the accepted norm is not for you. Something is pulling you away from all this and trying to lead you to better things. That something is you, the real you. This real you will become more and more familiar. You will learn how to use your mind as a magical tool to achieve those things that are dear to you. The process is quite easy. It will not happen overnight. It is a gradual process. It is a re-education, if you like. You are not so much learning as unlearning. You're getting rid of false thinking and allowing positive thought to be born again. Unlike academic studies in which you have to assimilate lots of often useless facts in order to pass some exam, in magic you find peace and empty your mind to allow the right ideas to come through. The peace and power come from the silent center within. In order to stimulate the subconscious mind into action, you have to use a language that it can understand. Fortunately, your subconscious mind does not respond to ordinary thought or the English language or any other language for that matter. We would be in terrible trouble if it did. If every fleeting thought became fact, we probably would not live beyond a few years of age. Such is the degree of negative thinking around human beings. The subconscious mind is self-protecting for our own good, so in order to get it to respond, we have to adopt certain procedures. Let us have a look at these from a magical point of view. First, We have the use of speech. Everyday speech will have no effect. For example, say to yourself, I am rich. Do this a few times to get the feel of it. The first thing that happens when you start to think is that you get a whole lot of reasons from your mind as to why this cannot be true. Do try this. Your mind has evaluated the statement, weighed the apparent facts, and presented them to you, so of course, nothing happens. Now try something else. Say to yourself, I am rich. Say it several times with conviction and with feeling. Do not listen to the facts, but rather say it and believe it. Give your mind a picture of yourself living in riches and wealthy surroundings. Ignore the facts. Just do it. You are using exactly the same words, except this time you are telling your subconscious mind that you wish this to happen. Same words, but an entirely different approach. In magic, you choose your words carefully. Make them mean something. Or if you wish, say nothing. You can still get the same results without even opening your mouth. Of course, you can also see why you do not use Greek, Latin, or Hebrew, for example, unless you are fully conversant with these languages. One of the major drawbacks in trying to get the subconscious mind to respond quickly is the fact that the conscious mind will always try to present the facts or doubts. You have to watch out for this. If you perform a meaningful ritual and then spend the rest of the time doubting the results, you will inevitably delay or prevent a physical result taking place. As I said in Chapter 1, magic is a way of life, not a hobby. You have to change your thinking all through the day, not just for the occasional few minutes once or twice a week. Remember, you are out to change the facts, to transcend them, so you'll have to adopt a new attitude toward life and your own conscious response to new ideas. This is not as difficult as it sounds, providing that you do it gradually, a bit at a time. So often people go for the grand slam, a massive amount of money, or a large house. This is not the way to do it, and you will have problems in holding back the doubts and uncertainties that will try to get in the way. Start small with something you can easily handle. This way, you will learn how to control your mind for magical purposes. The method will not be too great, and the success rate is bound to be higher. You will notice that the subconscious mind responds best to feelings and pictures. This part of your mind knows nothing of words. To get results, you have to bring together in your mind the senses, the emotions, and the imagination. This may sound complicated, but in reality it is not. You are using natural abilities that have been dormant for a long time. The basic magical procedure is as follows. 1. Decide exactly what you want to bring about, remembering that at first this should not be too big. 2. Plan out the rituals, bringing together all useful items such as color, scent, music, and so on. 3. Gradually withdraw from everyday living and spend some time prior to the rite relaxing. 4. Enter the temple, still the conscious mind, and direct the thinking toward the intention. 5. Start the ritual, making use of all the relevant items that help attune the mind to the correct type of energy. 6. Allow the subconscious mind to give power to the intention. Let go and believe. 7. Return back to normal life and continue to use positive thinking. These procedures will be discussed in great detail later on in the book. For now, let us move on to an important stage that is used for contacting subconscious power. This is called the magical in-world, or the inner temple. Sadly, like so many other important magical tools, this is either neglected or remains unrecognized. Your subconscious mind responds to imagery, pictures, and symbols. The inner temple is a perfect blend of these principles. Building an inner temple is quite easy. Given a little time, it will help to build itself, as your subconscious feeds information back to you. Not only does your subconscious mind handle power and get things done, it also has all the answers to all the questions. In some ways, it is linked to everything in creation, everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. So where do we start? We start with universal symbol, and that symbol is the encircled cross of the 4 elements. This has already been discussed in Chapter 2, but just to refresh your memory, it's a plain circle with an equal armed cross in it. Using this symbol, you build in your imagination a perfect world or temple in which all things are possible. I will give you an example which you can use quite freely. Eventually, you will modify this or perhaps even change it altogether to fit in with your own ideas. You will extend the ideas given to you already and use the principles given in this chapter. The use of the inner temple will increase your contact with power, so do spend some time on this. Pick some time when you will not be disturbed. Go into your temple or place you have set aside for your magical work. Sit down and relax. Spend some time on this, letting all thoughts of the outside world leave you for just a while. It helps if you have some joss sticks or incense burning. After a while, switch off any lights and light your central candle. While you are doing this, realize that this light is symbolic. It represents the eternal light of truth and your inner power. Contemplate this for a while. This is not just any old lamp or candle. It is special, and it has been lit for a purpose. It is a magical act and the start of a ritual. Sit down. There is nothing else to do except relax and perform the inner temple exercise on page 48. When you have finished the exercise, gently blow out the candle and leave the temple. Have a notebook that you can use as a magical diary. Write up any impressions that you received or anything of importance that you saw happen. No need for long essays, just short notes will do, as long as they will jog the memory when you read this again. Much of what you write down will probably not make sense immediately. No matter, it will eventually prove of inestimable value in your future and magical work. Do this magical exercise once a day for the next 2 weeks. You may of course carry on with it as long as you wish, but do perform the simple act each day for this period. Make it an exercise in self-discipline. Your mind will once again give you all sorts of excuses why you should not bother. Ignore this. Be your own master. Start now. You may have to sacrifice something to do this, but remember, input is proportional to output. The more you try, the more you gain. Read this chapter over and over again so that you become familiar with the ideas. These ideas will be extended later on into a coherent and workable magical system which is truly yours. The magical journey. This is a magical journey to a special place. The place exists in its own way, deep inside your own mind. It could be called a cosmic in-world, an inner temple, your inner temple. This inner world is very important to you, as it contains secrets that you need to know. The journey is quite easy. There is nothing for you to do except use your imagination. You will guide yourself to this inner temple. You will guide yourself to find the things that you need to help your magical work become more effective. The journey will start where you are present. Just breathe easily and slowly relax and let go. You may perform this exercise with the eyes closed in the beginning. The purpose of the exercise is accomplished when you can perform it with your eyes open. No need to strain, just relax, breathe comfortably and let go. Everybody has a certain amount of recall on their inner screens, the imagination. This is the third eye. The more relaxed you are, the better the visual imagery will be. If you find your mind starts to drift off the theme of things, gently bring it back on course. In order to find this inner world, you need a map, a symbolic map. The exercise that follows should be learned and memorized so that it can be recalled to mind without any difficulty. This is not as difficult as it may seem at first. After reading the symbolic story several times, it will not be long before you can recall every detail of your inner temple. The inner temple exercise. Imagine you see before you an encircled cross. See it in front of you on a door. Spend a little time building up the imagery in the mind's eye. Move toward this door in your imagination. Reach out and touch the door, and it opens, revealing a path. Go through the door and follow the path, which leads through a wood. There are wild flowers, and the colors are magnificent. There's a sweet smell of perfume in the air. Continue along the path through the trees. You begin to see a clearing, and in the middle are two gigantic standing stones. In between these two standing stones, there suddenly appears a large pentagram glowing in brilliant white light. Move toward the pentagram and step through it. Now, directly in front of you is yet another door. On this door is the symbol of the six-pointed star, hexagram. Once again, the door opens and you are inside the inner temple. The inner temple is quite dark inside, apart from a single light suspended from the ceiling. You are in a large square room. On the floor are two interlaced triangles surrounded by two concentric circles. In the center, underneath the light, is a small circular pool filled with water. Set in the middle of each wall is a doorway. These are the colors of the four elements. The door in front of you is yellow, east. The door on your right is red, south. The door on your behind you is blue, west. And the door to your left is colored green, north. Suspended on the yellow doorway is a sword. There is something engraved on the blade. Can you see what it is? Now move toward the red doorway. Suspended on this door is a spear. Once again, there is something important engraved on the shaft. What is it? Now, move on to the blue doorway where you will find a chalice suspended in the doorway. This is ornate, cast in precious metal, studded with gemstones. What is engraved clearly on this chalice? Finally, move to the green doorway. There is a magical shield suspended on this doorway. It has a very simple yet special design on it. Remember this as it is your personal design. There should also be something engraved on this shield. Now, go back to the pool in the center of the temple. This is a magical pool. The water is not really water at all. It is power and energy. Later on, you will learn how to use this. It does have one other use, however. Just like a crystal ball, it can be used to see into the future. Look into its depths. It will tell you things and give you answers to questions. Look into the depths. Relax and look deeply into the water and allow images to come into your mind. If you have a cassette player, you can have some soft music playing throughout the exercise. After about 2 or 3 minutes of meditating at the pool, it will be time to leave. No need to go back the long way. This is a magical place. Right in front of you is a door. Just walk toward it. You go through the door and you are back in your own room. Stretch your arms and come back to normal. Before you forget any important points, write them down in your notebook or magical diary. One day they will come in very usefully. Always remember you can enter this magical temple anytime you wish. Eventually, you will make the journey in a few seconds. For now, practice this once a day for the next 2 weeks or until you can perform it with the eyes open. In order to aid your meditation period and to avoid counting, make up a string of about 30 to 40 wooden beads on a cord. All you have to do is to move a bead with your hand. When you reach the end of the beads, you have finished your meditation period and can return to normal.